Hello and welcome to Rev Sports. Look at the smiles on everyone's faces. Look at the smile on Trisha's face, Neha Shisha's face. I am sure they are exhausted, but they are running on pure adrenaline from last night's win. I think we were all up till 3, 4 a.m. Getting everything done. She was up till, these guys were obviously up till 5 a.m. because they wanted to record all of the videos for today, write their pieces. For a journalist, the game, our work doesn't end when the game ends. Everyone thinks that that's when we all go to sleep or something like that, but no, there's so much more to do. And we were last night such an incredible feeling to go around the city. I didn't go around the city, but there were so many people telling me every household, every shop, every phone was playing the final match between India and South Africa. The DY Patil Stadium was completely filled to the brim. Every single person posted that one picture of that DY Patil Stadium gate with the board sold out written on it. These are the moments that we were dreaming of as people who have played the sport, as women who have supported the sport and wanted this to happen. But Trisha, exactly 12 hours after the win, has it sunk in yet?
No, as you correctly said, it has not sunk in yet because I missed the entire celebration. I was outside jumping from one language to another doing shows, and then when I went inside, it was already done. But also, I had to rush for other commitments that I had around. And it completely checked. At 5 a.m., our conversation was we are world champions. Because that's when we finally got to sit down and, it has still not sunk in because 7 a.m. we were again in front of DY Patil. The only difference today was there were a lot of college students, there were a lot of school students there. It's in the entire campus itself, but not the crowd that was there. The hotel just beside DY Patil, the courtyard married where the Indian team is staying. So yes, we took a bit of a feeling and we had to finish the recording there. Somebody asked me that, you have not posted it is such a big win. And I said, I will because right now I'm running so low on fuel but high on adrenaline. So let me finish the work commitments. I'll come back and post this big. But this is huge. I mean, sometime back, I think I got very emotional when talking to Snehachish about the win and what it means and what as a bowler, I keep saying I was a upcoming bowler and I always felt that I will take 5 wickets in the World Cup and my captain, of course, for us, the captain was always Mitali Raj because she was the captain when we were growing up. You a little later, but yeah, when I was growing up for sure. So yeah, it was amazing. And then to go and have that chat with Mitali, I think that was completely life comes a full circle. Mitali. As a kid, you are grown up imagining you will pick up 5 wickets and your captain Mitali Raj will pick up the World Cup. You were there, different role as a journalist, history created, first World Cup won, and you take Mithali Raj's interview. Big.
Before I go to Snehashish, Trisha, tell us your highlight of the conversation with Mithali, please.
How happy she was, how how relieved she was. Because I remember the first thing that she said after the World Cup win happened was a huge burden off my chest finally. So it. I think she was a little emotional as well, and all of them were. Be it Julandi, be it Vimari. It was, and the clarity of her thoughts. She was there praising every single player. She spoke about how everyone rose up in one of the matches. A rose up. So I think that captain, that leader is still there, who remembers every contribution, who remembers how things panned out. And it was just lovely to see um, how happy that moment was for everyone, as such. It was just a lot of positivity. And of course, Mitali was saying she was nervous. We saw that in a few World Cups also, in the semi-final, she would be nervous standing there because when you're in the broadcast team, you can't even do much. In fact, yesterday also she was getting nervous. She has said this in the conversation when Natin the Clark started scoring that she was like, ये कहाँ जा रहा है अभी क्यों नहीं twist नहीं चाहिए भाई ये खत्म होना है that was a grand experience for all of us.
Snehashish, you were there, you watched everything happen from the first match to now. I say this, and I've said this yesterday as well. India did not have a convincing campaign, neither did they have a dominant campaign. But the way that they turned the tables around in the semi final and final, it was an ugly fight, it was desperation, it was perseverance. Snehashish, how sum up the entire journey? I'm sure it can't be, expressed in words, but do your best.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think, first of all, if I want to mention the celebration about last night, I was quite fortunate to be there to witness that. And absolutely, I think the way the crowd was there till up to, I think, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., crowd was there. The way they were cheering, they were singing, Bande Mataram, and every songs were being played. I think it was fantastic to see, the way they cheered for all the players. Even the most beautiful part was one of the most beautiful part was the way they cheered for South African team also. They applauded them also for their fight and for their the character that they have shown throughout the tournament. I think they have been superb throughout the tournament. Even yesterday also they were in that game until I think Laura Ulbert was there. The game was in their hands. It was 50-50 till then. But I think superb. But the best moment, I think I called Trisha directly after seeing when I saw that the team showed the deserved respect to the former cricketers. Special mention to Mitali Raj, Mitali Di, and obviously Julandi also there. The cry, the way she cried, I think, oh, everyone, every one of reporters were standing there was talking about that. And I directly called Trisha. Trisha Di, finally, Mitali Raj is speaking, he's lifting that, she's lifting that trophy. So that was a very goosebumps, moment for all of us. But as you mentioned, the whole, the journey, I think it was superb. I think throughout the tournament, every practice session that we went, and I think for both of us, the indoor leg was very special. I think the 4 days that the team had practice, it was very intense, and so much learnings from those, practice sessions. I think many learnings and all. And just like the team, we had also up and downs. We had also gone through, for from breaking all the barriers that were there. But finally, it's so good to wake up today after a little bit of sleep that we are the champions. I think that's very 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 good
Very
feeling to
tiny
have.
bit of sleep.
Yes.
Poria, India wakes up. No, we all wake up to a new India today. Today, parents will hand their daughters bats and balls. Today, no girl will be turned away from a club. No girl will be told that this is a boys' only club. Everything has changed for generations to come.
That is the macro story, and that is something we have been able to kind of document over the last 45 days. In fact, if you see, not why only 45 days, we were the ones who were there in England when all of that was going on during the men's series. You both were there. You all know how many media houses covered those tours. So I think that photograph of Trisha as the only journalist sitting in that room, which we had put out with one Red Sports boom, and there was a one-on-one interaction. Then Shormishta was at Lords. We remember all that. So this is the change that we wanted to bring about. This is the change all of us wanted to see, and that's what is happening. And that's the big macro picture. I don't think it is only restricted to cricket. I think it is about all sport. I think it is about sport that people will now start to believe that playing sport is a viable career option. Even yesterday, Trisha was reporting from outside the ground that people are wearing Virat Kohli shirts or Rohit Sharma shirts. I don't think in the next tournament it will happen. I think in the next tournament it will be a Jamie Rodriguez shirt or a Smriti shirt or a Harman shirt. I don't know, even a whatever shirt. I mean, when you see a men's tournament, do you see a hardly maybe one or two women's t-shirts? You will now see these things happen. The larger story, the macro story, is that corporate India will also take notice. And Gargi, look, ultimately, a strong sporting country, if you take a look at countries that have won Olympic medals, you will notice that such countries are are powerhouses. 2028, the women's team has a chance to win an Olympic medal. This is the start. Think of the WPL and the impact. Think of the changes that have happened in the last 3 4 years when infrastructure came in, when money came in, the tournament happened. Now you've tasted a victory. It cannot be a one-off. It cannot be a one-off. India, if India can get to this, Australia, I'll give you a men's example. Allow me a minute. Praveen Amre was telling me the other day that look, when we went to Durban in 1992, he said, you know what? And he was talking about his coaching stint in Africa, South Africa. He said in 1999 मैं जब वहाँ पे कोचिंग करने के लिए जाता था ना, उनके पास बॉलिंग मशीन हुआ करता था. उनका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमारे से आगे था. But वो completely change हो गया in this decade, in the last 10 days, whatever, in the last 15, 20 years. And the moment that happened with the men's IPL, see how India has become a powerhouse, the men's team. This is what can happen with the women's team. So I hope we do that. Australia did not leave it at one win. 7 World Cup wins, 10 World Cup wins, consolidation, all of that. Let's get there. And we, as as reporters, as journalists, as a fraternity, we should back that and not just turn up for the semi-final or final, which is what has been the case. You just mentioned that it was an underwhelming campaign before the semi-final. Trisha mentioned that, I mentioned that. For that, you and I or Trisha will be trolled and abused and criticized, saying, how dare you? So we know all that nonsense, right? We know that this is how the fraternity is. All of a sudden, people will turn cheerleaders and they know everything of the women's game. Honestly, who cares? Let's do our work. Let's try and be harbingers of change and make change. And delighted. I think the macro story of a sporting revolution is the bigger takeaway from all of this.
Trisha, Snehashish, people are keen to know if there are any parade celebrations, what is going on, is there any news of it, of any such thing yet?
No, we don't know anything regarding parade or any specific celebration as yet. I think the girls went up to sleep around 7:30. They were taking pictures with Hoopy in their bed and sleeping with it. So things will pan out. There is a ICC photo shoot for the captain who has won. That I know. Harmanpreet will be sitting somewhere in Mumbai. They probably will. The entire team probably might shift from Navi Mumbai to Mumbai very soon, like us, of course. As usual, we go to Mumbai before Indian team does. That tradition continues. I think we will also go home before the Indian team reaches home because they still have some work commitments, different event commitments. But yeah, getting back to the point, nothing as yet. But we do know that the BCCI is giving 51 crore to the winning team, which is fantastic because ultimately it's the money that makes you a professional. Ultimately, it's the money that pushes you to kind of, while money is not everything, but it's a huge motivation. So I think also the WPL and the way BCCI has Gandhi looks, there are a lot of things that BCCI can still work on. But what BCCI has done by bringing this equal pay, and when I say equal pay, it's equal match fees. That of course varies with how many matches are being played. But this equal match fees and all gives you that equal respect. And nothing more than respect counts. And this sport now is at an all-time high. My only request is that come the next series, if India wins the first match, don't start jumping. Hold on to your horses. It'll be fine. And if we criticize, we are not jumping. We are calling out the critic.
Lots of questions here. Of course, everyone wants to know about celebrations. Unfortunately, we don't have a
Just
proper.
a quick update on that. Quick update on that. The players were supposed to be released and get back to domestic cricket, and a lot of things were planned. At this point in time, they haven't been released yet. So it is difficult because clearly their schedule will only be finalized after the BCCI releases them. So give a little bit of time to see where this is panning out, because otherwise the plan was for the players to be released today, each going to their respective states or whatever, and continue. But that has not happened yet after the win. So clearly something is being planned. What exactly is being planned, we will let you know, because quite a few things had earlier been spoken to, which are kind of being delayed by a couple of days, because the BCCI clearly will do something about it. So we've got to wait and see, and we'll update.
Absolutely. And with BCCI, we've seen that they take a couple of days to actually plan everything so that, everything is planned very properly, and that players and authorities and the police also gets enough time to prepare.
You don't
So,
need Bangalore. You will
yeah,
now plan it
exactly.
with 200 times more
Exactly.
care, consciousness.
Yes.
You absolutely do not want even one iota of Bangalore, right? So if that means no
Yes.
parade, no parade. But clearly you have to do things in a manner that befits it. I mean, there is a whole wave of celebration and euphoria in the country at the moment. So if that means you kind of hold back with restraint for something, that's totally fine.
Okay. Boria, you've covered this sport for a very, very long time. I think, like Snehashish pointed out, that moment at the end where the team, during their victory lap, found Julan Goswami, found Mithali Raj, Anjum Chopra, and handed them the trophy. That was one of the most, emotional moments, I think, of that entire night. Arga Deep is also saying Mithali Raj, legend, almost 8,000 runs, played 24 years. They handed the trophy to Mithali as a tribute. That was such a heartwarming thing to watch. What were the thoughts going in your head while that was happening?
Was remembering 2017, because if you remember 2017, after that game, for hours and hours the Indian team was sitting there at Lords, still trying to come to terms with what really happened. 9 runs, they were almost kind of there. They were almost there, and then the match slipped out of their hands, and all of a sudden England were champions, India wasn't. Mithali Raj, Jhulan Goswami, Smriti Mandana, Deepti Sharma, Veda Krishnamurthy, all of them, Harmanpreet Kaur. Think about that entire gang at Lords, and then fast forward about eight years. And at that point, yesterday, I was telling Trisha and you, I think, that Deepti Sharma, 2017, a 19-year-old, and that shot, one still remembers that shot, unable to clear mid on and getting out. And that same Deepti Sharma becomes the player of the tournament. So life comes full circle. So when you are thinking this, you always tend to think that there is an opportunity, and that's what it is. I mean, you have to you now build on this opportunity. There will be the good and the bad. It is not as if this team. Let me give you the Gukesh example. This team, Gukesh is world champion, but he's not the best player in the world. Magnus Carlsen is. This team is the world champion team. Make no mistake, they are the world champion team. They are still not the best team in the world. Australia is. So there is still a lot to be done. So the Gukesh example, and I am not saying this, Gukesh did. The first question when I asked Gukesh, he said, look, for me, I am world champion, but the dream is to also be the best player in the world. Magnus is. Magnus is the bar. So for this team, I think now that they've tasted success at the world level, take Australia down. Be like Australia in terms of consistency and be the powerhouse in the game. That's what you need to aim for, and I think it's doable with the support you will now get with BCCI, and you have to single out the support of BCCI with infrastructure and whatever. I think it's doable, and that's what you remember when you see that, and then you tend to think, okay, central contracts. 2015, there were no central contracts. And I know exactly how the central contracts happened. I think I told Trisha the story once. So from there to today, even when in terms of central contracts, it's still not parity, right? It's still 7 crores and 50 lakhs. There is a lot of distance that still needs to be covered. Let us all be a part of that distance covering, constructively critical, passionate, whatever you want to call it. But let's get it done. I think the sport has momentum. It is important that we all build on it.
Going back to the final, Trisha and Snehashish, one of the things that I can't stop talking about is Shafali Verma. It is such, if someone were to tell us at the beginning of the campaign that a player that wasn't even in the reserves would come in and make India win the match in the finals, would you have believed that? In your wildest dreams, did you think this would happen?
Relief का तो छोड़ ही दो यार सोचते ही नहीं उठना है why would somebody who's not even in the reserve suddenly comes and forget about beginning of the tournament I would not believe in beginning of Bangladesh match once Pratika got injured all of us started talking about getting Shafali in because Jessica wasn't there as well she missed out because of injury that is when we started speaking about Shafali and I think the first press conference that Shafali did right after coming here, she used the words that God has sent me to do something good. And good she has done. Oh, we- batting was one thing, Gargi.
Oh my
Where
God.
did that bowling come from?
She's not even a regular bowler.
And by the way, he was even bowling slowly. He was just bowling slowly.
And I was looking at Shafali and she's so confident. She's setting the field, everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was, I mean, of course, she was serious about it, but that's not a side of
Yeah.
Shafali Verma that we have seen. Where did that even come from?
Yeah, and as I've said, I think one of the best captaincy moves by Harmanpreet scoring her entire captaincy career. So it was brilliant. As I said, the way she was settling the field, and in fact, by the time she got 2 wickets, she was far more serious about her bowling because she said, "I don't want singles or this bowling. You cover the singles." So it was fabulous. But also it suited the pitch to get her in with those slower balls. I think that was one of the that Sunelu partnership and the Sunelu Wilbert stayed another 10 overs,
And then
match
Madison
was
Cap.
gone. Marisane Cap has not been
Yeah,
performing well, so
yeah.
I'm keeping that aside. Now think of this, Sunelu and Wilbert another 10 overs and
Yes,
then Cup comes.
absolutely.
Completely
Things could
different
have been
story.
different.
Yeah. Yeah, speak
Oops.
in mute.
Yeah. Yeah. Satvik,
What's the
Shafali was
constant
not the man of the match. She's a player of the match. Was
Yeah,
expected to perform with the bat, but did not expect to take 2 wickets. Master stroke by Harmanpreet Kaur. Absolutely, absolutely. To go with someone
Absolutely.
who hasn't even, first of all, she wasn't even in the squad. It's not like we've seen her bowl, in recent times. So that was an absolute power move by Harmanpreet Kaur to trust her player completely in a final when things could
Correct.
very well have gone the other way, because Laura Woolward was scoring briskly. But Priyanshu here is saying, Trishadi and Snehashi, special congratulations to you both. Covering Women's World Cup with full commitment. I cried for the first time since 2011 World Cup win. Snehashish? Oh, I think they've lost the internet. But Boria, tell us about a little bit about your decision as editor to send two people there. We've spoken about it. There is no ROI, but the commitment for every sport, be it para, be it table, be it men's or women's, has always been there.
Yeah, we were talking about it in our investor group this morning. Now, people will talk about the women's game today. Is anybody talking about chess today? No. But you also have somebody in Goa for the chess. Stories are born away from the media glare. Just like an athlete prepares for an Olympic Games away from the media glare, the mundane and the routine is the story. When Trisha and Snehashish landed up in Guwahati on the 24th of September, nobody was there. In Indore, how many people were there? How many mainstream media was there? Nobody was there. Today, when Atreo is covering it in Goa, when Devashish and Rahul were covering the Super Cup, no one was there. So, you have to, I don't know whether eventually the Rev Sports experiment is successful or not. That after a period of time, whether we will be able to say. But the story is you have to believe that whether or not you make money, whether or not you make whatever, this is your belief. This is what you want to drive, and this is what you are doing. So I take impulsive calls. I take impulsive calls. So that's it. I mean, you send people for chess, you send people for parasport, you send people for football, for hockey, for athletics, for Abhishek Mishra, for everywhere. The Doha Diamond League. So that is something that, as a conscious call, we have taken. Now, whether or not that is a right call, wrong call, it's not about ROI. The moment I put ROI, it is very easy for me to say, let's shut everything down, just focus a little bit on men's cricket, and we will call ourselves a sports channel. There will not be ROI. चलो विमेन्स क्रिकेट तो आज के बाद कुछ भी आरओआई तो आ जाएगा, पैरा स्पोर्ट के लिए तो वो भी नहीं है, चेस के लिए तो कुछ भी नहीं है। मैं अगर गोवा किसी को भेज रहा हूं, इफ आई एम सेंडिंग समबडी टू गोवा फॉर अ मंथ, आई एम स्पेंडिंग 5, 6, 7, 8 lakh rupees. Now what is the ROI in covering chess, a FIDE World Cup? Tell me. Nothing, zero. But does that mean that you will not send somebody for the chess World Cup? If you say it has to be equivalent to numbers, you will go nowhere. That's the problem with sport. That's the problem with our media and our coverage. It cannot be directly equated with ROI and numbers. Yesterday, your live was being watched. Trisha and Snehashish have been doing lives for the longest time. How many people have watched in the past? Tell me. People haven't. But does that mean they will stop doing the lives? No. You will do the lives because you believe in a cause. Does anybody look? Why are you working? Why do we all work? When I stand in front of the mirror at night, I ask myself, boss, are we doing good work? Yes, no. Answer is an overwhelming yes. Trisha, Sneha, Shish, yourself, me. Yesterday, Shomik also joined them. These two have been on the road for 45 days now. We have been on the road in England for 55 days. Shubhayan is now in Australia. Devashish and Rahul, by the way, did you even know their schedule? Their flight was cancelled. They came back via Hyderabad from Goa and joined work within 6 hours. That is commitment. That's what we are all about. Simple as that. So for me as editor, it is about self-belief. I would have made a lot more money had I continued with my multiple consultancy gigs. But that was never the intention. It was never the intention. The intention was to try and make a difference to sport. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree that we have made a difference to sport. We are talked about, people take notice, people are now sending reporters, even parasport. You yourself covered in Delhi. You told me one day on the show that, you know what, a lot of people are covering parasport now. I remember asking you that question. How many people were there in Paris? How many? How many people were there in Tokyo? How many people were there in London? This is the change that we are harbingers of. Be proud of it and continue to do work. Don't think about the result. Take care of the process and result will follow.
Yes, Trisha.
But I also want to say something that when we initially began with, I want to add on another concept that people generally don't believe in. That is, unless you do something, how are you going to get your audience? So when we started with live shows in women's cricket, we used to have 15, 16 people watching at a time. You know, content. Now, when we do a live show, it goes up to 400, 500, just normal live show. That is something that you reach by working hard, by covering, by showing that coverage and doing quality content instead of just sitting and making hefty comments out of it. The other reason is, what makes us feel superb is when people come up to us and say, we follow Rev Sports because आप लोग जितना ध्यान से cover कर रहे हो कोई नहीं cover कर रहा है आपसे तो सब पता चल जाता है कि क्या हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है. The third thing which I love is when they send you, like, the viewers send you, ये भी cover करके बताओ ये इस topic पे. हमारे तो ऐसे रिक्वेस्ट आते हैं गार्गी अभी से आना चालू हो गया कि अभी SWOT एनालिसिस किया था अब रिपोर्ट कार्ड करो सारे टीम. So Snehashish and I have actually planned we'll go back, maybe take a day because health hasn't been great as far as I am concerned. He was also unwell in between, but ठीक है चलता है. So I think we'll take 1 day break and we'll start with this report card. They want report card.
There is a comment here, Anirban Chakraborty saying Ref Sports अकेली YouTube चैनल थी जो शुरू से विमेंस क्रिकेट को भी इम्पोर्टेंस दे रहे थे. ये जीत आप लोगों की भी है. And yours as well. अरे come on अर्पित. अर्पित is saying शुभायन नहीं थे, सर नहीं थे इसीलिए इंडिया जीत गई. Just joking.
Once again, कल men's team जीता ना.
हाँ, convinced great.
So Shubhayan has also broken his jinx. The men's team won with only Shubhayan there in Australia. So Shubhayan has
2025 all was a change project. RCB Indian women's team Shubhan being there and
Against
yet
Bengal
India
Korea.
winning. East Bengal ने क्या जीता?
Korea.
नहीं,
नहीं,
don't change. Sorry, it is personal fine.
Okay, then we'll end the show. A final couple of comments, we'll take them. We'll start with this one. Priyanshu is saying Trisha the next trophy, Lords 2026.
बिल्कुल मेरे बर्थडे के 2 दिन पहले हम ट्रॉफी लेके घूमेंगे I mean, at
Okay,
least,
yeah, go ahead.
I said at least we hope so because as Ponyada said, now you have reached this level, you have to be consistent at this level. I think what I loved is yesterday when each one of them came up with a comment, everyone said, we want to make winning a habit. We want to rule the world now. That is where you want India to reach. 7 World Cup trophies.
All right, I think we've taken more than as many comments as we could have
आगे
possibly.
अब हमें जाना
This
पड़ेगा.
comment, this comment about of Priyanshu, right? The Trishadi Lords, whatever the
Ha
comment
ha ha.
was, Lords 26. Now, tell me, in all earnestness, has anybody in the Indian media thought about Lords 26?
We
I
have,
mean, we have.
we have.
Whether India wins or not wins, we'll be there.
And by the way, we haven't thought about it today or yesterday. We
Exactly.
the things were done. Yesterday it is very good that he did it. We were
Yeah.
sitting right beside me and both of us were sitting together and doing it. It was done and we went to England for the men's test match.
And when we were there in England for the men's test match, we booked the hotels also.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The day
Not
the schedule
ahead,
is released, we sit with exactly. We sat with you remember the Airbnbs and all? We were sitting and chatting.
correct? So that's the whole point. That when the schedule was put out, the day the schedule was put out, not after a World Cup win, we instantly booked. So suppose India did not win, would we not cover 26? Of course, we will
Nothing
cover
like
26.
that. Yeah.
If India wins 26, we will cover. If India doesn't win, we will cover. It is not dependent on coverage or win. It doesn't depend on that. You have to do what you want to do. Simple as that. So I think it has been a fantastic tournament. The win is outstanding. The sport has changed or will change, but that doesn't mean that the team will not see another trough. They will. That's how sport is. And if we decide or think that some calls were not right, we will call that out. We will do our bit. We will be there in the good and the bad. We will be there in 2026 in numbers. In numbers, because that's the whole point. The point is we will cover this sport in good and bad from top to bottom, not just this sport, the men's game, the women's game, every other sport from top to bottom. That's what it is.
On that note, we'll take your leave. Everyone asking about the celebrations. As soon as we have an update, obviously, you'll get all the details on our
As of now,
platform.
the only update that we can give you is we are shifting to Mumbai. So we need to
Exactly.
close
So,
the
And they are staying on. The only reason for them to stay on till tomorrow night is if there is something that BCCI announces, they will cover it. Again, we took this call yesterday afternoon itself, by the way. I
yeah.
called Trisha and I said, I'm changing your ticket. It was for today morning. We got it changed from today morning and we put it to Tuesday night. We didn't wait for the team to win. A call was taken. That's what we will do. We will do our job. Finished.
all right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Trisha, Sneha, Ashish, and Boria. We'll be back very soon. Join us at 5. We'll continue the celebrations. And of course, we'll be bringing you the coverage from chess and also Australia. Thank you, everyone.